Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. It's such a pleasure to be able to speak to you today. Maybe you could begin with a really brief introduction to the film My Policeman, and why you were so attracted to being involved with the project and felt like this was an important story to tell. And if Gina, you want to start?
I read the script and felt like it was a really interesting dynamic that you've got three people who make choices when they're young, and their choices are both positive and certainly negative towards each other. Those choices link them forevermore. And I think it's wonderful that the drama explores what happens when you revisit that trauma and that history.
And for you, David, and playing the role of Patrick?
I think it was about looking into a period of time from our past that I didn't know a lot about, and my fascination with the character of Patrick was how he manages to thrive during this time, and yeah, I think that's why I wanted to play this part. Yeah,
it's so powerfully and so sensitively put on screen. I was wondering, what the process of making the film was like, particularly for you, David, working along Harry Styles and kind of developing, this real chemistry on set, both, the really tense moments, also the intimate scenes. So what was that experience like for you?
Wonderful. I think Michael Grandage gave us the great luxury of a 3-week rehearsal period. So we had an awful lot of time, the three of us, me, Harry and Emma, together in order to create a friendship and a bond and a chemistry. And it felt incredibly collaborative as a process. So yeah, hopefully you see that on screen.
And for you, Gina, and I guess Marion, she's kind of a complex character because, you sort of empathize with her, but maybe don't always agree with the decisions she makes. And she's obviously, holds opinions that were of that time. But you sort of step into the role, perhaps where, she's been on a journey herself. So I wonder how you saw her as a character and perhaps how you worked with Emma to kind of have that consistency of the character, but maybe also see how she's developed.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing, isn't it? The 4 decades to live with the consequences of something that you've done. And I think that Marion in her retirement knows that she can't go into real old age with this not being addressed or resolved. She has to bring these people together to try and understand what they all contributed towards, and particularly herself. I'm not trying not to be specific, obviously, because I'd like people to come to the story as freshly as they can.
And, of course, set in the 1950s, but it feels like there's so much in this story that is still relevant today. It might be that the law's changed, but we know that we haven't come as far as maybe we should have done in terms of being accepting, in terms of our tolerance, people being able to love who they want. So do you think that there's a real way it should hit a contemporary audience?
I really hope so. I mean, if My Policeman can even in a tiny way be a part of a conversation that continues to help things to move forward, then I'm thrilled with what we've done with this film.
I think it's important that when we meet the characters in 1956 to 59, we understand the environment they were living in. I mean, it was, when you look at the statistics of what was happening, it's deeply shocking. And then, of course, even in 1999, we still have Section 28. That didn't go till 2003. We really have to keep working hard to help people live the lives they want to live in terms of who they love and how they love.
And, coming to Michael as a director, what was he like to work with and kind of putting together these beautiful scenes, recreating the 1950s era, and then, of course, bringing us into the present. So what was that like?
Gina and I have worked with Michael many times before. Yeah, I worked with him about 14 years ago when he was artistic director of the Donmar Warehouse. And I loved that experience so much and learned so much from him that when he called me to tell me about this story, I knew I had to do it initially just because Michael was in charge of it. But there's a lot of vulnerability to a lot of the scenes in this story, and he made that set feel like an incredibly safe space. There was an enormous support on set, intimacy coordinators, closed sets. It was a respectful environment. One of the most special that I've had the opportunity to be in as an actor.
And I think I'm out of time, but thank you so much for sharing all that with me, and can't wait for everyone else to see My Policeman. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.